started here. And I'll also be turning on live captioning as well. So that way for the recording, if anybody here needs captions, those will be available as well. All right. So let's go ahead and get started this morning. Let's see here. All right. So just a note, this is a mock setup here. There's no live client data or anything in here. I created a separate user account for the purpose of the training today. So just be aware that everything you see here is not any real information. So before we get started with everything, is there any specific topics or areas that people want to be covered in the training today? So that way I can make sure I'm hitting the areas that you guys need during the training. Anybody?
You said you were going to cover Headway and how you exit. So that's what we're interested in too, but you said it was in there. So thanks.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started from the very beginning then. So like I had suggested, I recommend having a couple of test clients set up for the purpose of the training. That way you're not messing anything up for any of your clients or messing up anything billing wise. Okay. So let's go ahead and start from the very beginning with a client. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Abe Smith here. He is one of the test clients that I created. So I'm going to go ahead and go through self-pay billing first and then cover insurance after that. So in the client profile, we have a couple of settings that we want to make sure we have set up correctly. The first thing is going to be our billing type. It does default to unknown. However, as a side note, there is a way to have that changed automatically. And the way that you're going to do that is going through your intake form, at least on mine. I have a question on if the client is using insurance, private pay, or an EAP. And what you can actually do with this is there are things called rules in our intake questionnaires. And so what happens is if the client chooses insurance on this question, excuse me, then this will show up and collect their insurance information. And then what you can also do is if the insurance is marked, then it will show up with the, it'll change it to the default billing type. And it will also change it if you want to have auto charge set up for your clients. If you're using PracticeQ's intake or PracticeQ's payment system, you can also have the auto charge set up, which I'll go through in a couple of minutes. And when if you're collecting insurance information through your intake form, you can use the profile mapping questions, which I cover briefly in my training that I did on pinned notes a couple of weeks ago. So let's go ahead and get back into here. So this is a client that is set up as self-pay. Auto charge on this account I have set up for the day before an appointment happens. You won't have to fill out anything with the insurance information down here. So you're just gonna go ahead and click on save. Now, if you don't already, you can go into your booking settings. And actually, let me pull up my main profile here. Quick swap here. One second here. settings. All right. So if you have an administrator, you would go into your services and set up all your services in here with the default pricing. And then you would also have your CPT codes set up on the super bill tab here. So you would click on manage codes, you put in all your CPT codes and default pricing on each of those as well. So if I go into something like this, default amount is going to be there. And if anyone needs me to slow down or go back, please be sure to let me know. All right. So if your client is set up as self-pay, they're going to default to the default pricing for each service that you have entered. Something that comes up for some people, if you do sliding fee scales, or you have a client that's just a lower rate, maybe you've changed rates over time, you can use what is called the price scheduling. And the way that this works is you set up a name. So let's say you have sliding scale $50 to $60, for example. You're going to go in and add what services that applies to. And then you can do discount amount, discount percentage, or a fixed price. I use the fixed price just because that's easier for me. And I would set it at $60. And so you would do that for any services that applies to. And then you would go ahead and enter what clients this is going to apply to. So if I do Abe Smith, for example, so now he's going to be set up to $60 on the pricing. Okay. Let's go back to here. All right. So I already have several clients scheduled on my booking calendar here. So let's go ahead and look at the billing for Abe Smith. So once you have the appointment opened up here, you can do your invoicing. So you can go here and do process or register co-payment. This is if you don't have your auto billing set up. So I'm doing this all manually right now. And so you're actually going to see here this defaulted to 150, and that's because I did the pricing scheduling after I had booked the appointment. But if I go ahead and change the service type on here, go ahead and delete this invoice here. Save. And then if I go back in and do this, still didn't do it. That is odd. Okay. So if the pricing isn't right, you can always go ahead and edit the pricing on here by going to actions, edit invoice, and choosing $60 for this one. And then I would go ahead and enter the payment. If you have an outside credit card processor, you can choose credit card, cash. There is no way to currently change the default offline payment method. So you would need to choose that each time. And again, that's if you're not using the integrated credit card processing with IntakeQ. So I'm going to go ahead and enter credit card and record payment. A couple of things with invoicing that I like to go over as well. I don't send invoices to my clients, mainly because none of them really ask for them. And so if you don't want to have invoices sent automatically, you are going to go into list and invoices. And then I'm going to go to your invoice settings. And it should be, so under defaults, a default share delivery method I have is share manually. So that way it doesn't get sent out to my client automatically. All right. Any questions with self-pay? Those are kind of the easiest ones to go through. The insurance ones would be a little bit more in depth. No? Okay. So with insurance, there's a lot of different things we're going to cover here. First thing I'm going to go through is setting up your insurance companies. And that's going to be done in, I believe. Yes. So you're going to go into your list, going to go to claims, and then you're going to go to your claim settings. Okay. And then you're going to go into your payers tab here. You can see here I have several. All right. Okay, why not remove it? Okay. So you can see I have several insurance companies set up here. You can ignore this one that says Headway because I don't use that anymore. You can see I also have one that has two different insurance companies here. One because there's an out-of-network claims that I submit, and then in-network claims. So you can have duplicate insurances, and I'll show you how to differentiate those in a minute here. And so if you're adding a payer, so let me just do another one here just as a, so let's say I'm doing Aetna Better Health of Texas. Of course, okay. Let me switch over to my admin center here. Okay. Aetna payer. All right, so you can see that that comes up automatically down here, Aetna Advantage. And then you're going to click on Edit. And if you're using Office Ally integration, yes, Shajan, I will cover how to do super bill. Yes, absolutely. Let me make a note of that here. Okay. So if you're using Office Ally's integrated payment processing or claim processing, you don't have to worry about filling out any of the address information here. If you have different billing facilities like telehealth or things like that, you can change the default billing here. You can choose if you are an out-of-network provider. If you have different rendering providers, you can choose to force that on the claims as well. So let me go through how I do the Headway billing, because this is really where this is going to apply the most, is doing a CPT override. Again, so this is like Headway, Alma, other outside billing companies that you're using. This is how I set up doing that kind of billing here. So I'm going to use what's called a CPT override. And so what will happen is you'll have your CPTs come up. Note these are different than the services. Again, this is just based on CPT codes. So let's say for Aetna, I am being paid $121 for my Aetna clients, for example. So what will happen is when I am creating the claim, it will default to that rate. I'm only going to be recording what I'm getting paid from Headway, not what the client is being charged. That way I don't have to worry about doing all the write-offs or what's being applied to deductible, things like that. I just leave that information blank when I'm entering my payments later. You can also set default places of service if you need to, along with any modifiers. But seeing this is going through Headway, I'm not doing that for this particular kind of insurance. So let's say I do a 90791, let's say 130, and then click save. Okay. So you can kind of see I do that for all of my insurances that are through Headway here. So all my default rates. And again, that CPT override will force the processing with that amount. Okay. All right. So let's go back here. All right. So I'm back on my main booking page here. I'm going to actually add a new appointment in here for someone who has Aetna. So let's find, okay, so test 3 client. So on this client here, I have the Aetna insurance entered, and I have insurance billing type set to insurance, and then auto charge disabled. I have the auto charge disabled for all of my Headway clients. But if you're using, if you're actually submitting claims to the clearinghouse, I'll go through that in a few minutes here. So I put in the insurance company. I don't put any other information on here really, because what I'm going to be doing is submitting what's called a ghost claim. So it's going to act like the claim was submitted, but it's not actually going to be submitted to the clearinghouse that you're using. So I don't really enter any of this information for the insurance payer. I just select the insurance company that is being billed. And so you'll see an advantage I just added in here, for example. So let's go ahead and book a appointment for test client 3. Telehealth, we're going to do just a 90837 CPT. I'm going to do that. All right. So let's say I already saw this client, I've done my documentation, everything like that, and I'm ready to submit this claim for billing. Again, this is with Headway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the appointment, click on the More button down here, and then click on Create Claim. And it's going to show any other appointments that I want to be billing for. I'm just going to be focusing on this March 4th session here. And you'll see a claim form come up. Again, a lot of empty spaces on here. And again, this is because I'm not actually filling this out with the insurance company. I'm not actually submitting any claims. And so you'll see here my date of service, my procedure code, modifiers I have set up, and then the charge that is going into this as well. And then I don't have an MPI number set up, but that's okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click on Save Claim. You don't have to worry about validating it again, because it's not actually going to the clearinghouse. And then you're going to click on Change Status down here on the bottom left. And click on Submitted. And so that will create the claim in the system. But it won't actually send it out to your clearinghouse. All right. So let me do a couple other kind of fake appointments here, just so this can. That way we have a couple of claims with Aetna to work with. Okay. So let's say that it is day that I get reimbursement from Headway for my clients. So what I'm going to do, I have 3 appointments set up for a client with Aetna right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your list, and you're going to go into your claims, and you'll see 3 different claims that are listed here. This will list all of your claims for the specified period. Couple things to note about the claim screen, and this is being worked on. Right now, it defaults to sort date by the date the claim was created, not the date of service. Currently, there's not a way to sort that, but there is a ticket in to have this fixed. So hopefully that will be coming soon. If you want to sort, if you want to have a search for the date of session, you would just use the search criteria here, session date, change it, and that will have that filter be applied in that case. So again, let's say it's payment day. So I go into payments, and I'm going to add a payment in here and select Aetna Health as my payer. And let's say it's today. And 21, 24. And so amount I'm entering here is the amount that Headway would be paying me for each insurance company. What I do is I have a spreadsheet that I use that keeps track of which payers each client has and what amounts the insurance is reimbursing me. And so when I get my Headway pay statement, I go through and add up the totals for each insurance payer. If anyone would like that template, I'm more than willing to share that as well. Okay. And let me pause really quick here. So I've just paused the sharing for a second just because there's other client information on here that I didn't realize would come up. What I'm doing is I'm selecting the claims that are going to be on this quote unquote ERA or my pay statement in this case. Oops. Okay. So you'll see it brings up basically a way to allocate your payments out. Again, seeing this is Headway, I don't record anything in my copay, deductible, write-offs. I just enter what I was reimbursed for by Headway. And you'll see as I'm entering these in here, it's keeping track of what is unallocated and any balance that is due for a particular claim. So if I enter like 105, you'll see there's a balance right here of 1674. And my unallocated is 1674 as well. So once everything for your payment is allocated, you'll see a green check mark. Once everything's balanced out, you'll see a green check mark and you'll see this ability to close payment. But let's say I have an unallocated amount, it will not let me close the payment until everything is balanced out correctly. And then so you see once I close out of there, you'll see the payment here with all the claims that were entered for that. And you'll see the status is marked as closed. If I go into here on my actual claim screen, you'll see status is marked as paid here as well. Okay. And so what I do each payday is I just do that for each of the insurance companies, same exact process, whether it's, Aetna, Cigna, Primera, Regents, whatever it is. I do that same exact process each time that I get paid from Headway. So any questions on that Headway billing process specifically from anybody?
Explain the benefit of doing that versus just doing an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find the value there, like to understand, like I'm trying to, obviously everybody's trying to cut their workload down, but
Yeah, so the reason I like to do this is because if I am kind of having things in a separate spreadsheet and also here in IntakeQ, then I'm kind of having to manage two different systems to be keeping track of the income that I'm receiving. And so what I like to do is I can go into my reports and see any income that I received during a specific period. And so that's why I like to keep track of both my Headway claims, excuse me, and any actual insurance claims or self-pay clients that I have. So that way everything is actually in one system.
got it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Other questions about the Headway process? And again, I have a spreadsheet that I can share that has kind of a way to set this up. And I'm more than willing to, I won't walk through it in this training, just because the one I have right now has client demographic or client information on it. But I'm willing to sit down with anybody and go through it. Okay. So let's say that we have claims that we're actually submitting to Office Ally. First thing you'll want to do is make sure you have the Office Ally integration set up. So let me pull up where to do that. So in the support section on IntakeQ, they have a really good guide for setting up your Office Ally account. It took like a day or two, I think, for them to get it set up for me. But once it's set up, it's pretty easy to utilize. So if you have questions on that, I recommend just reaching out to support. And they're really helpful with getting that set up. But it walks through what you need to say to Office Ally, and then what the process is for being able to submit claims. Okay. All right. All right. So let's go into our clients and have a client that we're actually going to be submitting insurance to through Office Ally. So again, here, this client Kelsey, I have set up as an insurance client. I did disable auto charge on this one because this client has no copay or deductible to be met. So that way auto charge is not going to be on. If the client had a copay or deductible, then I would have the auto charge set up within the practice. And I'll go through that in a few minutes. But here I would actually be entering a member policy or member ID number, group number, depending on the client relationship to the policyholder. In this case, let's say it's self. And you're going to want to make sure all of this information is set up for street. Okay. And so again, you want to make sure all that demographic information is filled out. All right, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna do this all from the timeline here, so I'm not switching back and forth between screens. So you'll see I have a few different appointments set up for Kelsey here. Excuse me. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up this intake from February 16th here. So let's say I'm ready to do this billing for this client. I'm going to go ahead, same exact process as it was with Headway before. I'm going to go ahead and create my claim. And actually, before I do that, you'll want to make sure you actually have your diagnosis entered for the appointment. The way to add a diagnosis is through a note. So I'm going to go ahead and do this through my assessment. And so the way to add your diagnosis is just go to more, add diagnosis. Let's say it's that one there. So that way that'll be on the claim when I submit it. And let's go ahead and lock. All right. So back into here, going into creating that claim. I'm just going to do the February 16th one. You'll see all that's information is filled out. It automatically pulled in the payer information on this one here. And the insured information, the NPI number, all that good stuff. And then it pulls in my diagnosis code as well. With this insurance company, I don't have different charges set up or any overrides set up because I'm billing them my full amount and they'll reimburse me whatever my contract states. Okay. Any of these kind of other details, you can go through and do these if you need to. There is a way to kind of set defaults with some of these as well, like the prior authorization numbers, accepting assignments, those types of things. And I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay. So I'm not actually going to submit this, but before you submit it, you do want to validate your claim. It'll check for any errors. So this one in particular was good. Nothing missing, at least initially on the first pass. And then you click on actions and submit to Office Ally. Again, not actually going to do that. So let's pretend this is submitted and it is being processed by the insurance right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple other claims. So you can either submit claims one by one. There is also the bulk submit option for insurances as well. So the way that you're going to do that is you're going to go into your claim list and then click on the Create Claims button here. And this will list all appointments that do not have claims submitted. This is an important piece and why I was talking about making sure you're setting your billing type correctly. So I have it for just my insured clients. If I had all, then my self-pay clients would be showing up in here as well, which is what I don't need to do that. It does give you a warning that the client is self-pay. And it will list any other kind of errors that are missing, or it'll tell you if the claim is ready to be billed. This is new. You can also see the note status in here as well, which is really helpful. So if you don't bill until notes are completed, you'll be able to see that note status in here. There's also a new filter option, excuse me, as well, to do if either the note is locked or unlocked. So that's a helpful feature for group practices that do billing that way. And then you can also do specific payers, or you can do by specific clients. So we were doing Kelsey here. So let's do Kelsey. She was on March 1st and February 22nd. So if you're selecting multiple clients at the same time, or the same client, multiple appointments at the same time, they will all be on one claim form. With Headway, I don't do that. I do them all individually. So that's just kind of an aside. But this particular client, seeing I'm actually doing claim submission, I'm putting them on the same claim form. So you go ahead and once you have the claim selected that you want to bill, let me do that one and that one too. So then what it will do is it'll ask if you want to validate the claims. I would click yes, and it's going to list any errors that I have. So it's telling me insured first and last name, address, date of birth, and it's also missing an diagnosis code as well. So if I want to go ahead into here, I can do that at this claim level first. Or I can go into my note and add my diagnosis as well. So if you add a diagnosis on the claim, you do have to manually select the diagnosis here and check that off so it gets applied to the service line. Now again, I'm just gonna ignore this for right now. So let's say both my claims are validated, good to go. You can then do bulk actions and then submit to Office Ally. But again, I'm just going to do this as changes submitted for the time being. Okay. So same process as with Headway. Let's say it's payday, I get my ERA. If you're connected to Office Ally, that will come in automatically for you. And it will do all the calculations and everything like that for you automatically, which is really nice. And it will figure out, because it'll read the ERA information, it'll figure out what was copay, co-insurance, deductible, and any write-off amounts as well. A new feature that was released recently allows you to set it up so that once the claim is processed, if the client has an amount due and it hasn't been invoiced already, you can have it so it automatically creates the invoice for you as well. Yes, Susan. So what I mean by when I do Headway separately, so when I was on my create claim page, so you can see I have I have tags set up for my clients. So like Headway. And I can't, yes, I do. So with Headway, seeing that my billing period is like the 16th through the end of the month and the 1st through the 15th. If I have claims that are on different pay periods or sessions that are on different pay periods, I won't bulk create that claim. So let's, like, for example, Donald Duck, for example. So I have a March 2nd session here. And I don't have a second one for him, so let me add one in here really quick. And let's say I have so you'll see I have Donald Duck here, and then Donald Duck here. So these are going to be on these would be on two different paychecks from Headway. So I wouldn't bulk create those together because then it would be on one claim.
Gotcha, thanks.
Yep. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So let's say it's payday and I am getting my payment from Kaiser, for example. So again, let's pretend this is an ERA that came in automatically from Office Ally. I think Pause. All right, resume share. So this is going to bring up the claims. Again, this is would all be automatic if you're using Office Ally or TriZetto. And to bring in the submitted amount, and again, this would all be filled out automatically. This particular client, I don't have set up with any copays. Excuse me. So, and she doesn't have a deductible to meet. So let's say my reimbursement amount is $110. And I actually need to edit this. Okay. Oops. Okay. And so again, unallocated balance. For some reason. Okay, write off, that's fine. And so this would need to be my contracted rate that the insurance paid me here. So again, you can see everything's balanced out, and then you'll click on close payment. Now, let's say that client has a deductible or a copay amount that's due. See. I didn't actually create that claim for Donald's. Let me do that really quick. Or, okay. So again, this would all be automatic. So let's say the client has a copay of $15. And so 29, 24 minus 15. Let's change this really quick. And so you'll see again, unallocated balance, 0, nothing to write off. Because with this insurance here, I do have the CPT override entered for this particular insurance payer. And I just have it set as my contracted rate. So again, then close payment. Okay. So if we go into, so seeing that this client has a copay due of $15, it should have automatically created an invoice. Excuse me. I think I have it. It was find the first appointment for them. Sorry, I forgot what client that was for. Oops, payments. Okay. So you'll see, seeing I had the client had a copay from the ERA, you'll see that the invoice was automatically generated. And so you'll see amount due $15, which was that copay amount. And you'll see it was created automatically. by the system because of that ERA payment. This will not auto charge if you have that set up. You would need to go in and manually enter the payment or charge it. It will not auto charge if the invoice is created automatically by the system. So let me pause there. Are there any questions on billing insurance through the clearinghouse, so Office Ally or TriZetto? None? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through a couple other kind of billing things that I like to go over. Let me open up. So I was talking earlier about setting some kind of default things for clients on the claim forms. Excuse me. So let's say for Marge here, I have a prior authorization maybe. So you're going to go into the client's profile and click on claims. And then you're going to click on claim defaults. And so this was that very last section on the claim form that pulls up when you create a claim. So like the other information. So you can set some defaults here. So let's say, it's a workers' comp claim or auto accident. You can put in the date of the injury. If you're doing labs, you can do that. I always mark accept assignment, which basically means that the insurance company is going to be paying me instead of paying the client. That really only more so applies for out of network claims, but I do select it nonetheless. Payer type usually going to be CI for commercial insurance. And then you can also add in prior authorization numbers here as well. So this is a little bit lacking right now. It doesn't have the ability to set number of sessions authorized or specific CPT codes authorized. But I believe they are in the process of fixing that or adding that ability. So if you have an authorization, this is one way to add that in there. So it appears on the claim automatically. If you are working with gender diverse clients, you can also put it in here with their legal name. Because what I do on my chart, if the client has another name they go by, I actually put that in as their chart name. And then for claims or anything billing related, I can do an override here. So it puts their legal name instead, if they have a different name that they go by. Okay. So I can do, let's say, assignment, commercial. And so then if I create a new claim for this client, let me just do appointment. So you'll see here, patient will default to that override of Kim. Right there. And then these are the other defaults that I just set. So if I had a prior auth number, it'd show up there. So that's kind of how the default overrides are set up. All right. So a couple times I've talked about auto billing. So if you're using IntakeQ's payments, this is under the booking settings. You will want to go into the payments tab, and you can do the auto charge right here. So I do my auto charges 24 hours before the appointment time. That way, if client's card is declined for whatever reason, I'm able to be notified of that, to have them correct that or change that. Then you can also set up alerts for the invoicing as well. So when card is not on file, I don't have it do anything. If it auto charge fails, you can have it send an invoice, create an invoice, but don't send it, or do nothing. So, Shajan, and hopefully I'm saying that correctly. I will come to that question in a moment. The question in the chat was, is there a way I could have it where clients have to pay for a consultation or session before they can schedule a session online? So I'll come to that in a few minutes. Okay. So actually, this is actually part of what you were asking. So we credit your credit card when booking. So if you have the booking widget set up, you can make the credit card have it require a credit card when booking an initial appointment. Right now on mine, I just have it as optional right now. So that's how you use the auto charging. I don't think of other items. I will come back to super bills. Are there any other questions, or what other questions, or maybe weird scenarios, or issues that you've run into with billing, that I can maybe take some time to go through? Yeah, so it'd be the same thing with Alma, as the process that I went through with Headway as well. So someone had asked, can I use this process for Alma? Yes. One thing I do for my Alma and Headway clients is I do require a credit card on file in my system. The way that I do that is in my consent forms, payment policy. You can have a credit card form on here, and you can set that as required. So I do require that on my credit card consent form, or my payment policy form. And so that's what it looks like on the client's end. What other questions do you guys have? Any at all? Someone had asked earlier about doing super bills. Excuse me. So let me go back to this here. So let's say with Bart here. So let's pretend he's self-pay, for example. So I would do issue and enter my payment. Let's do an override here, edit. So let's say he has $150 that he has to pay. So I would enter my payment, say it's cash, for example, or credit card, So once you do that, you'll see this button down here on the bottom that says Super Bill. You'll want to make sure you have your diagnosis code entered. So again, you do that through the note. You can also add it here. But if you do add it here, it will, do not believe it saves it into the chart. So make sure you would add it into the chart for the client. Another thing with the super bills, as of right now anyway, you cannot, if you have different dates of service with different diagnosis codes, you cannot have them on the same super bill. Right now, there's no way to point a specific service line to a specific diagnosis code. Again, I do, and I have a ticket in to fix that. So it looks like it does on the claim form, where it has the diagnosis pointers. So right now that is a limitation with the super bills if there are different diagnoses for different services. Because what this will look like here. Preview. Tax ID number is missing. Okay, do this. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like. So let me go ahead and go in here and edit. Let's say this is a self-pay client. Enter record. Super bill. So add in my diagnosis. Place of service, practitioner, preview. So this is what it will look like for the super bill. Again, you can see here it doesn't have a way to point to a specific diagnosis code. It just lists all the diagnosis codes that were on the super bill. Same with the place of service. So again, this is going to be changed at some point. And then once that's done, you can automatically, you can do store, and then you can send it to the client either via email or through the secure messaging portal. Right. Other questions on billing? Again, any weird situations that you guys have come up with or come across when doing billing up until this point that maybe I can go through? Or anything you want me to go back over? No? Okay. Well, that's all that I had for the billing training. More than willing to, if anyone needs additional support. So if anyone needs any additional support, I'm more than willing to help out. I'm pretty active on the IntakeQ page. So I'm more than willing to do any additional more in-depth things or answer questions of weird things that come up. if people need that extra help. There's a question, could coaches use this? Yes, absolutely. Only thing you would need to do is you would still kind of go through the same process of setting up all of your services through the booking settings. So you would just add in your services here. You wouldn't be using any kind of CPT or billing codes or billing claims. So just setting it up into services is going to be okay. So test service, for example, so you can have it be, you can set specific durations, again, a set price point. You can add forms if those need to be sent out. There's some kind of overrides here for kind of appointment confirmation. If you need time, if you want clients to only book like a day in advance or something like that. You can also do, this goes back to the question earlier, require credit card. So you can also have that marked as well. So require credit card. You can even do require a deposit. So, let's say $1 or something like that. So you can have that there as well. You can change the automatic charge if that's something that's needed. So you can do default, same day of appointment immediately upon booking, or do not charge automatically. So with the automatic charge, you can set it up at the account level. You can set it up for a specific service type, or you can even do it by appointment, or at a client level as well. So there's kind of a few different options for doing the automatic charging. Let's see here. You can do things for overriding the cancellation settings that are set on your account. You can add custom prices if you have different practitioners or different locations. And then on the super bill, that you wouldn't be using that for coaching either. So you would just be having the invoices for something like coaching services. Question. I haven't submitted a claim yet. Where should I jump in to learn how to begin? So Tony, do you already have, is this something that's going to be submitted through the clearinghouse, or is this with something like Alma or Headway?
It's through the clearinghouse, through a practice queue.
Okay. And is it with Office Ally or Trizetto?
Which one does the practice queue use?
It uses, you can set up with both of them. So to check which one it is, I believe settings. Yeah, so you would go to your settings and then integrations.
Okay. And then that's how I'll find out.
So yeah, so
Okay.
depending on which one, it'll show both options in there, but if you click on the settings, so like I use Office Ally for mine, but if it's Trizetto, it's going to say like I'm not connected with their server essentially.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
So then once that's done, and you have that connected, then you kind of just go through kind of that entire process to kind of walk through during the training.
Yeah, I took notes. It was very to see the overall process was very helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and again, if you need any additional help and you're on the Facebook page, feel free to post there or message me privately. And I'd be more than willing to kind of jump on. I do calls with people all the time and I don't charge for it. So If you ever
That's
need
very
any,
kind, Ryan.
yeah, absolutely. So if you ever need any additional help, always more than willing to hop on with somebody and do one-on-one if needed. So
Oh, thanks. When in their help, in IntakeQ's help, you know, all the options that they have, where do I start there to, or to go
Yeah.
like through that initial training kind of?
yeah, so the support is they really do have a good support section. And so if you haven't set up any or haven't set up your clearinghouse, again, they have a good oops.
Just search, okay,
Yep.
great.
So electronic claims office
Thank you.
ally. Again, this really good, helpful walkthrough guide here.
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. There was another question. Can I put more than one appointment in a super bill? Yes. So let me go in and change something really quick here. So if you want to add several claims to a super bill, let me create a couple of appointments for a client so I can walk through that. All right. So the way that you're going to do that is going to be through the clients. You can't do it from the appointment page, but you can do it through the client's page. So you're going to go into invoices and you're going to click on the super bill button here. And actually, let me create the invoice really quick here. I'm just creating the invoice so I can create the super bill. And mark it as paid. Okay. So you can do your super bill here. You can select a date range that you want to search for appointments with. And it will pull up anything in that range that hasn't been added to a super bill yet. Again, one thing I note with that is if you have different services that have different diagnosis codes, you cannot have them on the same super bill because there's no pointers for either the place of service or for the diagnosis. So let's just say I have a diagnosis there. So you can only select one place of service for a super bill as of right now. Generated, okay. So you'll see two different dates of service here. Has my procedure code with my modifier, the fee, and then list payments for that the client has made as well. If you have insurance information entered, that should populate as well. Yeah, so I don't have the insurance information here, but if I did, that would populate on the super bill for the client. Any other questions? So creating a client statement, so essentially, there's not a actual kind of quote unquote, actually there is, I lied. I haven't actually done this before, so let's look at it. So create statement. So again, I'm on the invoice page here. You're gonna click these three little button or this little button here and click on create statement. You can select your date range.
I see it. Fantastic.
I had never seen this before, so
I never did either. So
excuse
I
me.
wasn't looking. Bless you.
So you can do your date range and then do you can either include on invoice payment or appointments or not. So let's not do that for this one.
Yeah.
So that's what it
good.
looks like.
Mhm.
So we'll list out charges, payments, and any balance that's due. And then we'll list total paid, it looks like. So let's see what it actually looks like when it's printed. So statement, it's similar to the invoice, but it's going to kind of be more of like an accounting of what's been paid and not paid. And it's going to be a little bit more clear for any kind of balance or anything that's due. So let me pull up a invoice, for example. And we'll kind of look at these kind of compared to each other. So it just is kind of laid out a little bit differently. And you can have, again, you can have multiple dates of service on an invoice. And it will keep track of the amount due that's on the for the invoice. But the statement is going to kind of again be more of a direct breakdown and a little bit more condensed. So it'll list the total charges for the invoice and then any payments that have been made. And then any balance that's left as well. And it keeps a running balance as well. So just a little bit different of a little bit same information, just laid out a little bit differently. Right. Any other questions? No? All right. So I should have, I'll get this training edited today and posted both in the group and the yeah, I'll get it posted in the group today. So I'll do that as soon as we're done here today. So again, feel free to reach out to me with any questions or anything. Again, always more than willing to do one-on-ones if people need extra support with things. So okay.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
You're absolutely welcome. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekends. And I'm sure I'll be doing some other trainings coming up. I've gotten some questions from other people for some other trainings that they want to do. So be on the lookout for those when they are announced. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you all have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.